many tennis balls can you fit in a Boeing 747 aeroplane? To figure out how many tennis balls I could fit into a Boeing 747 aeroplane, I would first calculate the volume of the aeroplane itself. So in order to get a rough estimate of how big the aeroplane is, a Boeing 747 is quite a large aircraft. It's on the bigger side. We all know how long 100 meters looks like roughly. If we think of a 400-meter running track, 100 meters is the longest side. So I know a Boeing 747 isn't going to be that long. I would roughly say it's about 70% of that. So let's assume it's 70 meters long. I would roughly estimate that the length, or the width, sorry, of the Boeing 747 is about 6 meters, and it's got a height of 3 meters. So to find the volume of the cabin, because the wings can't fit any tennis balls in them, right? So the cabin is going to be 70 times 6, which is 420, and then times 3, which is the height. So the length times width times height. So that's going to be 420 times 3, which is going to be 1,260 meters cubed. So let's just round that up to 1,300 meters cubed. So that's the volume of the aeroplane itself. Now, when we think about the tennis ball, how many of these can fit in there? Let's find the volume of a tennis ball. We know that the volume of a sphere is 4/3 times pi r cubed, but that's too complex for this situation because we don't have a calculator to hand. So what we're going to do is find the volume of a cube that fits a tennis ball. So a tennis ball is roughly that big. I'm going to say that's about 7 centimeters. So the volume of a cube that can fit the tennis ball is going to be 7 times 7 times 7. So 7 times 7 is 49 centimeters. Times 7 is going to be 343 centimeters cubed. So we got the volume of the cube that fits a tennis ball, which is 343 centimeters cubed. And we've got the volume of the aircraft, which is 1,300 meters cubed. So now we need to guess or figure out how many of these tennis balls fit into the aeroplane. For simplification, or to simplify things, what we're going to do is try and identify how many, or calculate how many tennis balls fit into 1 cubic meter first, and then times that 1 cubic meter, or times that number by 1,300 to see how many fit into the aircraft. So 1 cubic meter is around 1 million cubic centimeters. And so we need to figure out how many of these 343 cubic centimeter cubes can fit into 1 million cubic centimeters. So essentially we need to do 1 million divided by 343. Now let's break it down further. So 343 times 3 is about 1,000, right? So we times it by 3 and then we got 1,000. And we know 1,000 times 10 is 10,000. 1,000 times 100 is 100,000. 1,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000. So we times by 3 and times by 1,000, so 3,000. So roughly 3,000 of these cubes can fit into 1 cubic meter. And now all we've got to do is do 3,000 times the volume of the aeroplane, which is 1,300. So essentially 3,000 times 1,300 is going to be the same as 3 times 1.3, which is 3.9. And then the 1,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000. So it's going to be around 3.9 million tennis balls. However, we've calculated how many cubes can fit into the aircraft, right? But the sphere takes up about 75% of the space within that cube. So if we say we've got 3.9 million, call it 4 million, and then the tennis ball is a sphere, so disregard about 25% of the cube. So the ball takes up 75% of that. So 75% of 4 million is going to be 3 million. So the answer, I would say, based on these calculations and this rationale, you would be able to fit around 3 million tennis balls into a Boeing 747 aircraft.